Playing Dark Souls 2 again reminded me of one of the game's more interesting speedrun categories, reverse boss order. It made me wonder what a reverse boss order run might look like in Dark Souls 1. Mino has already done a reverse boss order video focusing on the game's required bosses, and it's cool, check it out. I will be handling things a little differently than Mino, the biggest difference being I'm going to attempt this with all of the game's bosses. Now, the first thing to note is that a true 100% reverse boss order run isn't possible. To get to Gwyn, at minimum, you have to beat the Gargoyles and Ornstein and Smough. But even worse than that, when you beat Gwyn, you're forced to choose one of the game's endings. Warping just lands you back in Gwyn's boss room, and performing a force quit wrong warp to go back to the start of the kiln still triggers the Dark Lord ending. So because of this and a couple other factors, it would be more accurate to call this run as reverse boss order as possible, but that's not as catchy. The other thing to note is that for a lot of the game's bosses, there's no set order in which you fight them, so I had to make one. The order I went with is based on a few things: how many souls the boss gives, if the boss can be fought prior to Sen's Fortress, the logical path leading to the boss, for example, gaping before Quelaag, the boss being one of the four lords. You can fight the four kings before going to Sen's, but they're directly required to fight Gwyn. And lastly, if it's a DLC boss. This order may not be the most logical in some places. I don't think most people are going to fight Pinwheel and Sif before going to Anor Londo, but I had to come up with some sort of order using the game's data, and this was the best I could do. With all of this said, I'll explain more about the order we're fighting the bosses in as we go. Let's get into the run. Our first objective is to leave the asylum by skipping the asylum demon. It would probably be faster to do this by using the black firebomb method, but I opted for true asylum skip so nobody can argue that I killed the demon. Since I'm doing true asylum skip, I started as a hunter, so I get 30 arrows to attempt the skip with, and chose the master key as my gift. I also put a timer on screen for this run, as I figured some of you may be interested in how long a run like this takes, and I was curious myself, since other than coming up with the order I would fight the bosses in, I hadn't done any real routing. We're going to run past the demon, grab our sword, speak to Oscar to get the Estus flask, grab our bow and arrows, and clear out the enemies near the fog gate. Now it's time to perform true asylum skip. If we drop an item at the right corner of the fog gate, angle the camera in a specific way, turn forward without moving, enter the fog gate by pressing A on our controller, and 1 frame later pick up the item by pressing E on our keyboard, we'll enter the fog gate at a weird angle, allowing us to clip into the wall where we can gain enough height to jump over the railing and skip the demon. I have a dedicated tutorial for this skip if you would like a clearer explanation. Now in Firelink, it's time to begin the process of setting up for this run. We'll want to grab the Humanity, the Firebombs, the Homeward Bones, and the Zweihander. With this done, head down into New Londo Ruins, ditching the standard arrows along the way, and then into the Valley of Drakes. The only thing we'll want to collect from here this time around is the red Tearstone ring, so make your way past the Drakes, up the ladder, and grab it. Head to the bonfire at the top of the elevator, then head outside and grab the Grasscrest shield. Now head into the Undead Parish and grab the bonfire. It's now time to get all of the souls we'll need for this run. Head to the top of the tower and lure one of the enemies to the second post from the bottom of the stairs. From here, we're going to parry and riposte the enemy to clip into the nearby death cam trigger. With the death cam active, many objects will not load, including the gate to Sen's Fortress, allowing us immediate access. When we load back in, we're going to grab the nearby soul, then get an unlucky pattern from the man-serpents and die. Avoid that second part if you can. After performing Sen's Gate skip again, we'll want to head through Sen's Fortress and make our way over to the sleeping man-serpent. Have him help you break the wall, then save and quit, free Logan, and speak to him. With Logan free, the last thing we'll want to do is grab the soul of a hero, then warp out. It's now time to break the game. First, we're going to use the brightness dupe to use 99 of the soul of a brave warrior we picked up. After that, from Andre, buy the Crest of Artorias and 999 wooden arrows. Then use the prompt swap glitch from the standard arrows to the longsword to buy 999 longswords. Bringing up another prompt on the longsword after this will cause a quantity of negative 998 to be stored in memory, and from there we can use the brightness dupe to drop negative quantities of items. We're going to utilize this to duplicate our fire bombs, homeward bones, humanity, and the soul of a hero. Now drop all of the souls of a hero except one, then bring up a drop prompt on the wooden arrows to store a quantity of 999 in memory. From there, utilize the brightness dupe to use 999 of the soul remaining in our inventory. Pick up the rest of the souls off the ground, and repeat this once more to get all the souls we'll need. It's time for some leveling. We're going to get 40 vitality, 19 attunement, 40 endurance, 16 strength, 45 dexterity, and 99 intelligence. Take the elevator back to Firelink, and it's time to get most of the spells we'll need for this run. First, we're going to head into the Undead Burg and jump through the gap in this wall. From there, climb onto the nearby ladder and back off of it, turning around just as your character finishes fully standing up to end up on top of the ladder. Then just roll out the crenellations to get out of bounds. Now we're going to drop down and buy 99 blooming purple moss clumps from the female undead merchant, since we'll be visiting Blighttown very soon. From there, drop down into the depths. Next, we'll need to make a fairly tight jump to get onto a tunnel. Once here, make your way to the end of the tunnel, and throw a firebomb slightly to the left to break the barrel Laurentius is trapped in, and free him. Head back into the burg, this time going to the male undead merchant to buy the residence key. Now we need to make our way to the lower burg. Clear out any enemies in the way of these stairs, then jump over the railing and save and quit to load back in on the railing. From there we can use a light swing with the straight sword hilt to fling ourselves onto the lower wall. Or mess it up and have to do it again. When done properly, we can drop down to the lower burg, run over to the room where Griggs is trapped, and save and quit. When you load back in, open the door to free Griggs and warp out. Time to do some shopping. From Griggs, buy Fall Control, a Catalyst, and both of his rings. Now from Logan, buy Soul Spear. I bought some other spells from him too, but didn't end up using them. Lastly, stop at Laurentius to get a Pyromancy Flame and upgrade it to plus 15.
Goodbye then.
Next up, we're going to go through the back entrance to Blighttown and meme roll down to Quelana. At Quelana, ascend the Pyromancy Flame to plus 5, then buy Great Fireball, Great Combustion, and any other spells you want. When you're done buying spells, it's time to use Quelana like a piñata, except she drops Fire Tempest instead of candy. Return to Firelink and attune some of the spells we just bought. Now that we have some offensive capability, head through Blighttown backwards and collect power within to complete our initial setup. Return to the bonfire at the Undead Parish, and then head all the way to the door in Darkroot Garden. Since the first bosses we're tackling are the DLC bosses, we'll need to take out the Hydra. Power Within and Great Combustion make this a very easy process. Save and quit after killing the Hydra to cause the golden golem to spawn, then take him out to free Dusk. Now summon and speak to Dusk to buy Hidden Body. It's time once again to perform Sen's Gate Skip. This time around, we're going to be heading all the way to the top of the fortress, grabbing the bonfire for safety. Now it's time for Iron Golem Skip. This is a very precise trick performed by attacking the Iron Golem with a running attack with the Zweihander at the same time he grabs you. This causes a glitch called a grab cancel. If we set up our angle in nearly a perfectly straight line backwards and get far enough under the golem to get the distance we need when we perform the grab cancel, we'll get launched all the way inside of the platform with the first gargoyle in Anor Londo. After landing inside the platform, we can utilize a Force Quit Wrong Warp to get to the start of the area. Grab the bonfire, and then head towards the Duke's Archives. There are two methods for getting into the archives early, the Death Cam method and the Seamwalk method. I opted for the Seamwalk method this time. By using our bow and rolling, we can walk across a seam at the edge of the map and get to the ceiling of the tunnel leading into the archives, past the Gold Fog Gate. If you want to learn how to perform this yourself, I'll link to a tutorial in the description. Once on the ceiling, it's possible to get back in bounds utilizing a Force Quit Wrong Warp, but another way was found to get back in bounds consistently, and I wanted to show it off. First, we'll want to get our equip load between 8.3 and 12.5%. A quick way to eyeball it is to just aim for roughly 10%. This will set us up with a certain amount of roll recovery frames. From there, if we aim at the line between these two specific tiles with our bow, jump, roll backwards, and roll forwards, we'll clip back in bounds. Once back in bounds, take out the pig and grab the bonfire. Now head up the elevator and take out the crystal golem to get the broken pendant. With that done, run up against the Golden Fog Gate and perform a Force Quit Wrong Warp to get back to the start of Anor Londo. Once there, speak to the Batwing Demon to go back to Sen's Fortress, where we'll once again perform a Force Quit Wrong Warp to end up back outside. Start making your way back to where we rescued Dusk, and be sure to grab the bonfire behind the illusory wall along the way. Now head down and grab the Crown of Dusk off the corpse, and then enter the DLC. If you were wondering why I said to grab that bonfire earlier, it's because we can't grab any once we're in the DLC. The game expects you to have the Lord Vessel by this point, and warping out at a bonfire is the only way to leave. So the closest bonfire to the DLC that we can use is the one we just rested at. Nonetheless, nearly 45 minutes into the run, it's time to fight our first boss. Unfortunately, there's no known way to skip the Sanctuary Guardian, so we'll have to take him out before we can take out the DLC's later bosses. Power Within and Fire Tempest make this fight pretty easy. Now we'll need to navigate our way through the DLC to get set up for the rest of the boss fights. Use hidden body to sneak past all of the enemies, then meme roll down the elevator shaft to skip the long walk around. From here we're going to use fall control along with some more meme rolls to survive the drop down this elevator shaft, allowing us to bypass Artorias. Navigate your way through the area backwards, taking out any enemies in your way, and grab Dark Bead. Back at the bonfire, we're going to set up our spells for both the DLC and the majority of the rest of the run. We'll want to attune Soul Spear, Dark Bead, Fire Tempest, Hidden Body, and Power Within. Now return to the DLC, and it's time to fight Calamite. Our only choice for fighting Calamite is the Golfless method, as Golf doesn't spawn until you kill Artorias. Head down the ladder to Calamite's arena, and save and quit when you see him fly in. When you load back in, drop down to the rock with the crystal lizard on it, and if Calamite attacks, wait for it to end. If he doesn't attack, proceed immediately. Run over to this crevice by these plants on the rock wall. For whatever reason, Calamite's attacks can't hit you here. In our safe spot, we're going to swap out the Dusk Crown Ring for the Red Tearstone Ring. Between the Red Tearstone Ring, the Bellowing Dragon Crest Ring, and the Crown of Dusk, we'll have enough firepower to take down Calamite. Normally I would wait in this spot for Calamite to attack, but he decided to not show up, so I went to the next step immediately, which is to wait on this reddish plant. When you see him fly in, run over to the flat green plant in front of us, aim the camera all the way up, and fire off a single Soul Spear at him. If you're good at this trick, it's possible to hit him multiple times, but I'm not, so I go for one spear per run. When you run out of Soul Spear casts, switch over to Dark Bead. It's a bit easier to hit him multiple times per run with it, thanks to the spread. After a handful of runs, Calamite will be no more. From here, we'll want to perform a Force Quit Wrong Warp. This acts like resting at a bonfire, restoring our casts, but places us at the beginning of the DLC instead of at the bonfire in Darkroot Garden. Return to the Chasm of the Abyss, and it's time to take on Manus. Fire Tempest can do a lot of damage to Manus, but its slow casting speed makes it risky. So I opted to just stick to sorceries for this fight. With Manus down, the only DLC boss left is Artorias. We'll again want to use a Force Quit Wrong Warp to get back to the beginning of the DLC and restore our casts. From here on out, there's a catch however. After killing Manus, the portal to the DLC disappears, so if we leave at any point, we can't come back. With this in mind, we'll want to be careful when fighting Artorias. If we die and don't Force Quit Wrong Warp out of the death, we'll be locked from the DLC forever, and the run will be lost. Fortunately, we're pretty overpowered, so this shouldn't be too much of an issue. With Artorias defeated, we've completed the DLC bosses and can leave, never being able to return. Next up on our list is Seath, so we'll again need to perform Sen's Gate skip, followed by Iron Golem skip. Grab the bonfire in Anor Londo, and then perform the Golden Fog Gate skip again. From there, we're going to run past all of the enemies, send the second elevator up, and save and quit. When you load back in, if you lock onto the enemy in front of us, roll left, then roll right and save and quit will perform a glitch called Duke Warp, if you don't mess it up like I did. Performed correctly, it looks more like this. This will load us back in on the elevator's railing, out of bounds. From there, we can meme roll our way down to the platform below, completely bypassing the prison sequence. The only other thing worth mentioning on the way to Seath is that we're going to drop off here with the Dust Crown ring equipped to get our health close to the Red Tearstone ring range. Take a path through the clams to try and stop them from entering the room, and then it's time to take on Seath. For Seath, we're going to use Power Within to get our health to the Red Tearstone ring range, and then blast him with Dark Bead for a very quick fight. Now force quit Wrong Warp back to the beginning of the archives, back to Anor Londo, and out of Sen's Fortress. Return to Firelink, and then head to Blighttown. The next boss on our list is the Bed of Chaos, but there are 4 bosses we need to skip to get to her. The first boss we'll need to skip is Quelaag, and the first step to skipping her is triggering her cutscene. Now return to Blighttown, and follow this path to get onto this pillar. Once here, carefully walk off the edge to drop down to the platform below, then immediately backstep to avoid the kill box in front of us, heal up, and save and quit. Equip the Zweihander when you load back in, and put away your shield. Jump over the dark spot on the ground to trigger the death cam without touching the kill box, and perform a fall damage cancel on the left of the pillar using the Zweihander. Navigate your way through the swamp, into Quelaag's arena, and to the stable ground of the stairs on the other side. Grab the Daughter of Chaos bonfire, and swap out Hidden Body for Fall Control. Then head into the Demon Ruins, and grab the bonfire there. We can skip Ceaseless by utilizing the geometry on the right side of the lava lake. The hardest part of this skip is the initial drop, but Fall Control makes it significantly easier. Unfortunately, the bonfire that's by the rockworm here doesn't spawn until you beat Ceaseless, so if you die, you'll need to perform Ceaseless skip again. Take out the Taurus demon by the Golden Fog Gate, then jump up behind the rockworm and save and quit. To bypass the golden fog gate, we'll need to perform a grab cancel on this rockworm while walking backwards into the wall behind us. One of the easiest ways to do this is to use the grass crest shield as our weapon and perform a light swing as soon as we see the grab animation starting. When done correctly, we'll end up in the ceiling of the Centipede Demon's arena and can walk over by the entrance fog gate to drop down just outside of it. Run up and grab the bonfire, and now it's time to bypass the Centipede Demon. This next trick is one I had never performed before this run, so my only research into it was watching a few clips of it on YouTube. The first step is getting the orange charred ring. To get it, we'll want to lure the Centipede Demon over to the safer area to the right, then cut off his tail. Once his tail is off, it'll come alive. Kill it to get the ring. With the ring obtained, it's time for the harder part of this trick. Much like with the Iron Golem, we'll want to perform a grab cancel utilizing a running attack with the Zweihander. Unlike with the Iron Golem, he'll be launched forwards, not backwards. I ended up getting him stuck behind the two tree roots near the exit fog gate and angling the grab cancel towards the lava fall. It took a few tries, but worked well enough in the end. Now past the Centipede Demon, grab the bonfire so you don't have to do that again. There's nothing too noteworthy about the trek through Lost Izalith, just grab the second bonfire and proceed to the Bed of Chaos. We're going to utilize our bow and fire bombs to skip the annoying first part of this fight, then we can immediately roll through the branches and take out the bug. With the bed defeated, perform a force quit wrong warp to leave. You'll end up back at the start of the demon ruins. From there, walk over to Quelaag's domain and perform another force quit wrong warp. This will send you back to the start of Blighttown. You'll have to go all the way through Blighttown to leave, but since Quelaag is still alive, this is our only option. After escaping Blighttown, we'll want to head all the way back to Darkroot Garden. My next few splits are out of order, as I was originally planning to kill Nito before the Four Kings. You need the Lord Vessel to fight Nito, as there's no known way to skip his Golden Fog Gate, so that's why I put ONS as the next boss. I then realized you don't just need the Lord Vessel to fight Nito, you also need to place it. We can't place the Lord Vessel without beating the Four Kings, and we can't get to the Four Kings without beating Sif. So that's why the splits are slightly out of order. With that said, make your way to Sif, and it should be a very fast boss fight. Return to Firelink once more, and then head down to New Londo Ruins. Lowering the water level is overrated, so we're going to skip that process by using fall control and dropping off this ledge. When you load back in, drop off once more, no fall control needed, and reload again. Now that we've bypassed the need to lower the water level, we can walk through some collisionless walls to drop down into the abyss. With the power of the red Tearstone Ring and Dark Bead, this fight should be over quick, if you don't forget how to dodge. Twice. After figuring out the art of pressing B, we can finish this fight in 2 kings. With the 4 kings defeated, we can tell Koth that we think he's cool, and thanks to the Abyss bonfire allowing us to warp without the Lord Vessel, we can warp straight back to Anor Londo. Proceed through Anor Londo normally, moving the rotating platform all the way down to grab the Dark Moon Tomb bonfire. Carry on through the rest of Anor Londo, grabbing the bonfire after the archers, and then head straight to ONS. With knowledge of Ornstein's different possible opening attacks, this fight shouldn't be too bad. We got his charge, which is the easiest one to counter. Super Smo on his own is never too hard, so the fight is pretty much free from there. Head up and destroy the illusion of Guinevere to receive the Lord Vessel, and turn Anor Londo dark. Now that we can warp, return to the Abyss, tell Koth he's cool again, and be transported to Firelink Altar. Once there, place the Lord Vessel, and we can start heading towards Nito. Make your way into the catacombs. Our first objective is to skip Pinwheel. After opening the door, cast Fall Control, drop off this ledge, and enter the nearby corridor. Head to the end of the corridor, take out the Titanite demon, and grab the Eyes of Death. From there, take a nap in the coffin, and wait to be transported to Nito's room. We are now considered to be in the Tomb of the Giants, and can utilize a Force Quit Wrong Warp to warp to the start of the area, just past Pinwheel's boss room. The trek through the rest of the area is the same as usual, so head to Nito and take him out. With Nito down, warp back to the Daughter of Chaos bonfire. Perform Ceaseless Skip again, screwing up at the end. Perform Fire Sage Skip again, screwing up the timing. Screw up Ceaseless Skip once more for good measure. Finally, do it all properly so we can continue the run. After all of that, it's time for the Centipede Demon. When you remember that you're wearing the orange charred ring, this fight is quick and easy. While we're in the area, we can enter Fire Sage's arena from above. Just don't miss the jump and get killed by menu delay like I did. When you successfully make the jump across, you can drop down and fight an AI-less Fire Sage. Next up, we're going to warp to Dark Moon Tomb to take on Gwyndolin. Soul Spear has good range, so dodge his first set of attacks, and you can take him down in 2 shots. Next on our list is Priscilla, and to access her, we'll need the Peculiar Doll. Head back to Firelink, pretend to be an egg, and Force Quit Wrong Warp back to the start of the asylum. Once back in, take out the Black Knight, grab the doll, and warp out. Head into the painted world, and proceed through the area like normal until you come to the bridge with the undead dragon. If we carefully walk off this ledge, we can land on some geometry below and skip almost the entirety of the area. From there, it's just a short fight with Priscilla to finish off the painted world.
I expected as much from thee. Why dost thee hurry toward thine death?
Return to Anor Londo and speak to the Batwing demon to enter the Iron Golem's arena. Unlike most bosses, you can't hurt the Iron Golem while his AI is inactive, so run to the start of the area to trigger the fight. Head back to Firelink and back to the Asylum. We can't enter through the door since we never opened it, so it's time to force quit Wrong Warp again. Enter the Asylum demon's room through the door, but ignore him and drop down. We'll take the Stray Demon by surprise and take him out quick. The Asylum Demon will also come say hi as we're leaving. Now it's time to head back to the Demon Ruins, but we don't have to do any skips this time. Just walk up to Ceaseless and blast him. Next up is Pinwheel. Use fall control and a couple drops to get to him quickly. Then it's time to send him to join Nito. We're down to bosses that are all meant to be fought in the first part of the game, and none of them are going to hold up too well. First up is Quelaag. Next, if we continue from where we rescued Laurentius, we can get back in bounds inside the depths and bypass Capra. From there, if we jump over the nearby railing and save and quit, we'll load back in on top of the railing. Once there, we can jump straight into Gaping's arena and take him out. Return to the Undead Parish and head all the way to the Moonlight Butterfly. The fights really aren't too interesting at this point. Next up is the Gargoyles. The room leading up to them is a much bigger challenge than the gargoyles themselves. Like the previous fights, this one will be over quick. Next up is Capra. We're going to use the most overpowered ladder in the game again, but this time to get on the crenellations at the opposite side. From there, we can fling ourselves across using the straight sword hilt, and then across the gap to a building overlooking Capra's arena. Once here, we can roll into his arena without triggering his AI, and take him out. Dogs will continue to be a problem, however. Take the normal path through the burg, and make your way to the Taurus demon. No need to make him jump off the ledge when we do this much damage. Head back to the asylum one final time, and wrong warp back inside. Open the door, and beat the tutorial boss. I can now tell people it took me over 3 hours to beat the asylum demon. Return to Koth, and get him to take you back to Firelink Altar. Once there, offer the Lord Souls to the Lord Vessel, and it's time to take on Gwyn. As usual, Gwyn's greatest weakness, shields, make him an absolute pushover. And with that, we're done. Dark Souls Remastered, as reverse boss order as possible, in 3 hours, 16 minutes, and 14 seconds. This challenge was actually pretty fun. If you're looking for a new way to experience Dark Souls, I'd suggest giving it a try. It does require a lot of knowledge of glitches, but learning glitches is a fun challenge too. In any case, I hope you found this video entertaining, and I will see you guys in another video.